Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Crew Expendable. Sorry it's been a while. I am COVID sufferer Hallstrom.
And I am COVID non-sufferer Rohrbacher.
Yes, and we don't usually give designations at the beginning of the Alien comic book issues, but guys, I've had COVID. I've had COVID, and it was a specific kind of COVID that just decided to live in my throat for several days and leave me with a still kind of annoying but much better than it was occasional cough. Haven't really been able to have extended conversations without going into coughing fits for the past week or two.
Cool.
So no podcasting, and I'm sorry about that, everyone. We've been
I'm not.
Yeah, Kenny's fine with it. Kenny,
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Whatever, it's fine.
Well, he's acting like you're acting like this for the audience, I know, but you were like an insufferable tyrant behind the scenes.
It was an extreme gnashing of teeth.
You were
that
just
is correct.
so fucking rude and mean, and no, he wasn't at all, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, I was just going to let them think that, but since you brought it up, yes, that is correct. I actually was not. He told me that he was sick, and I went, cool. Let me know when you're good. And then here we are.
Yeah, he's like, oh, awesome, you're sick.
Ouch, rude. Okay, I see how it is.
Anyway, so I apologize. We were trying. I've been so busy working shit, and I was really trying to get this push to get caught up and get the podcast stuff caught up. I know we've had several weeks off, and I was finally feeling like we were getting on top of it, and then I got fucking COVID, dude, and it just really set us back. So I apologize, everyone, for the delays, but we are here now today to talk about Marvel's Alien Icarus issue number 5, and a little bit of schedule change. Issue 6 is out. We were originally going to cover that after we did the Verheiden Aliens series, but we're just going to go ahead and do issue 6 on the next episode, and we got plans to record that pretty soon here. So, yeah, we'll be fairly timely. We'll knock out this so far really, really good Alien series.
That's right.
See if it finishes strong,
I'm hoping it does. The previous 4 issues that we've read anyway have all been extremely strong, so I'm hoping it, pulls off it. What's the phrase I'm looking for? It sticks the landing.
I think it's going to stick the landing. I don't know what could possibly go wrong at this point, which is not the kind of thing you want to say when talking. If I were in a situation with xenomorphs, I wouldn't want to be like, this is going real well. Nothing could possibly go wrong at this point, right?
Whereas me, the reason I'm kind of wary about saying nothing could go wrong by this point is because this is a comic that is produced by Marvel Entertainment. So
fair point.
So I am kind of wary of saying there's no way things could go wrong.
Yeah, but I have faith. I have faith in Philip K. Johnson. I think he has struck gold with this idea. I think that this creative team is gonna bring it home, but we're not there yet.
I mean,
this is the penultimate issue, right?
It sure is.
Yeah, and as we have done with this entire series, and will continue to do with future Marvel Alien books, we're gonna read this as we podcast about it for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've got it open right here. I've seen the cover, and that is the only thing I am aware of that is contained within the contents of issue 5.
The cover is promising a lot of action. Do we need to do a recap at this point? If you're listening, you know what? If they're listening to the issue 5 podcast of this, they know the story so far, right?
Well, true. However, how should I phrase this? I would be okay with doing a brief summary of issue 4 just because it's been a little while.
Sure.
You know?
Okay.
So I I actually went out of my way just because, I wanted to remember where we left off. I went through
Yes.
and made just like a brief little like bullet point list. And the first one on the list is after the events of issue 3 ... So
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to talk about the farming planet and the
Sure.
biologic and all that. That's not what we're here for. That's been covered several times. I
Yes.
believe every single Icarus episode so far, we've talked about the ongoing plot. So I'm just going to say this is the gist of what happened in issue 4.
Let's hear it.
Um, they kill the queen, but one of them, I think it was Nora, I believe is her name,
Yes.
gets killed in the process. But they do manage to get that portcullis open that was keeping them trapped in there. After they escape, they realize that the humans trapped them so that they can go steal the Steel Team's ship and use it to get off the planet. And so they run off to go track down and stop the humans. But Seth, Nora's boyfriend, stays behind to mourn her death. And the reason I'm bringing that up is not because it's necessarily narratively important, but because in issue 4, when it happens, he mourns her death by ripping his own eyes out,
Ripping his own.
which is one of my favorite moments
damn.
in the comic, and I love talking about it. And I just thought it was so fucking cool, so I wanted to make sure to hit that button one more time.
Yes.
Plus, who knows? Maybe the fact that he's not around and doesn't have eyes, maybe that is narratively important. Who knows? We haven't read it yet.
Maybe it is.
But anyway,
my prediction is he's gonna show up in this issue, at the end of this issue, or perhaps at the very end of issue 6. I got a feeling Seth's coming back.
oh, he's definitely coming back because he's like not dead.
Right.
And like last time we saw him, he wasn't like, I'm going to stay behind here like forever or anything.
But I do love,
so anyway,
I do love the idea of him just kind of being like, that's it. I'm just going to be a blind man on this alien planet
I mean,
for all eternity.
he certainly could theoretically do that. However, I will say that last time we saw Seth in the comic, he did not say anything or do anything that indicated that was his plan. So I'm assuming he's going to come back again later.
Okay.
But
Yep.
anyway, after that, we see that the humans managed to get to the ship, but one of them, I don't remember what her name was, so I have her written as Girl with Bug on her.
Right. The one who asked about Eli's penis.
That is correct, yes.
Mhm.
Starts to go Fifield mode and mutates into a weird creature, and then it causes the ship to crash.
Yes.
And then she goes from being Fifield to being Eldon by gathering together a big group of Xenomorphs and going to the hideout where all the humans are, breaking in, and then wholesale slaughtering almost everyone in the building.
Yeah, all the human survivors. Whew.
Almost all of them.
I love that we're getting so deep into this stuff that we have references like she goes Eldon, right? Like,
yeah, she goes Fifield mode. She turns into Eldon too.
Yeah, we have reference points for some of these things.
And how should I put this? I don't necessarily want to have it be insulting for me to point out that the reason, I referenced Eldon, the reason I referenced Fifield is because all three of those characters did extremely similar things.
Right.
And so I don't want it to be like, oh, they're using these same ideas over and over and over again. But like in all of the stories we've covered, we've even had this conversation before. In all the stories we've covered so far, all of them are kind of the same basic gist, with all the details shifted around. But all of the like stories in like the 35,000 foot overview, they're all kind of the same thing, you know?
This franchise, it turns out, is kind of like the Taco Bell menu, right? Where it's like it's the same ingredients but just layered in different fashions, and or different delivery systems, right?
Or as another reference we like to make, a lot like Friday the 13th.
Sure, that's fair. I don't know.
Every movie is basically the same, but it's like sometimes the settings are different, the characters are different, the kills are different, but it's the same core gist every single time.
But I love the consistency. And that's not to say that like the stories that can't be surprising, like this Icarus story so far has been surprising, right? It's been very
Yeah.
different from other alien stories I've read. It's like, the Crunchwrap Supreme of alien comics, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of the point I was trying to get across earlier. I'm not saying that to be like, oh, all these stories are the same and so it sucks and I'm not liking it or enjoying
Right.
it. I mean, I'm a big Punisher guy, and every single Punisher arc is he pulls out a big gun and shoots a bad guy with it so hard that they get blown backwards through a window. That's
Hell yeah.
like every single Punisher comic, and
Sure.
he's still like one of my top 3 favorite cartoon or comic book characters ever.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't have a problem with like consistency and a certain level of sameness.
Right.
Like it, because I guess my point, what I'm trying to say here is by me pointing out that all these similar things keep happening in all these stories, that's not like a knock against it.
No,
That's
not at
not
all.
like a negative. Yeah, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's like, the parts of the Alien franchise that we've come across or read or listened to or watched so far,
Yeah.
there's like a style to it,
Right. There's also
like
some, there's some
no,
consistency
go
too
ahead.
in like the internal lore, right? Like we've seen the pathogen now in the Dark Horse universe and in the Marvel universe, and we've seen the effects be the same in terms of like somebody infected with pathogen being around xenomorphs and what sort of happens with that. So like
Yeah.
there's a consistency to the fake science inside the stories also. Although I will say it doesn't completely line up with Fire Team Elite when you get into the pathogen stuff in there. But no spoilers for that. We're gonna have to do a Fire Team episode soon.
It's funny you say that because I was playing on my PS5 earlier, and when I turned it on, I got a notification that the game just got an update like yesterday or today.
Yep.
So, but we haven't played it in a while, so we probably should, but that's not something we need to talk about on the episode.
No, we need to talk about Alien Icarus issue 5. Before, I got a question for you though before we jump into this story.
All right.
All right. So, can you name the 5 members of the Steel team without looking?
Freya,
Yes.
Eli,
Yes.
Seth,
Yep.
Nora,
Yep.
and No,
And the one who we couldn't pull her name last time.
because they never said it in issue 4. So
We had to look it up. Astrid.
Astrid. There we
Yes.
go. Yes, Astrid, of course.
We
yes.
gotta do the roll call before we jump into the story, because where we left off in issue 4, it's just Freya, Eli, and Astrid together, right?
Yep, it sure is. Nora's dead and Seth is gone. So yeah.
And let's so that takes us right into this front cover where we see Eli and Freya having a goddamn android knife fight while xenomorphs like crowd around them.
Yeah, Freya has a big pair of daggers and she's holding them assassin style, i.e., point side down.
Yes.
And she's getting knocked backwards by Eli, who I can't tell what that is that he's holding.
I believe he's also holding a knife. It's just smeared with android blood.
Oh, okay,
it's
that's
kinda
fair.
like
Yes.
blending in.
All right, I'm okay with that, because now that I'm looking at it, both of their weapons have android blood coming off of them, so it
Yeah.
looks like they mutual attacked each other, like the glowing xenomorph and the dude at the end of Aliens Aftermath, I think it was called.
Yeah, I remember that.
with like the glowing nuclear xenomorph. Yeah.
That was a fun comic.
It was.
Yeah.
It was kind of dumb, but I actually really enjoyed it a lot. But anyway,
Yeah.
the two of them are swinging their knives at each other, cutting each other up, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I see 6 xenomorphs, and
Yeah.
what looks like an egg, just chilling out. And the xenomorphs are just like perched around on stuff watching this fight go on, and in the foreground there is a human skeleton with a xenomorph tail poking outwards through the rib cage.
Yeah, or it's like wrapped around or something. It's hard to
Yeah, I
tell.
mean, due to the angle, you can't really tell. It's just there's a rib cage and then there's a tail spike, you know?
Good cover by Bjorn Berens. This might be my favorite cover so far for this series.
I mean, as always, the xenomorphs look fucking top notch, baby.
Yeah, they do. All right, but let's jump into this bad boy. As a reminder, this comic is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with art by Julius Ota, colors by Yen Nitro. Pardon me, Yen Nitro. Letters by Clayton Cowles, and of course, covers by Bjorn Berens.
Mm-hmm.
All
right.
C.B. Cebulski is the editor-in-chief. We all know that. All right.
We sure do.
Boy, do we. I don't know what that means. I got nothing against the guy, the person.
Don't worry. I know what you meant. It's all good. But anyway, page 1 is some more wholesale slaughter.
Yes.
There's someone in the background holding a big pulse rifle, shooting a xenomorph in the chest.
The M41A pulse rifle, not the Nerf version, the actual version.
There's someone else holding a big spear about to run a xenomorph through, but in the foreground there is her name Mel, or was Mel the leader of the humans? Do you remember?
Melody, right? Was it Melody was the leader?
Okay.
And so this is the infected lady whose name we don't remember.
The one that went 5-field mode. She's still looking like that, and she is holding someone up by running her claws through their chest and then lifting them up vertically.
What is her name? She's gone Ultra Instinct, is what she's.
She sure has. And then we see some brief shots of the child hiding inside the locker that we saw in the final panel or two of the previous issue.
Right, that's how the last issue ended.
And then
Xenomorph coming for her.
And then fucking a xenomorph gets vertically bisected through the torso with what looks like a glowing sword.
Yes,
that's pretty badass.
Well, I think that's acid blood. That's just the acid blood
heating it
blade.
up. I got you.
Yeah.
And then turns out it's Freya.
And this was the perfect time for a nice Terminator reference. She says, "Come on, kid, time to go," but she should have absolutely said, "Come with me if you want to live." Right?
She absolutely should have. Yes.
She's like Sarah Connor style badass in this comic.
I would just like to make a very brief reference to a moment from a movie that I absolutely love and am thinking about all the time. For anyone out there that's seen it, the moment where this xenomorph gets vertically bisected, imagine what happens to the demon at the end of the Evil Dead remake. But like from stomach up rather than only through the head.
And from head down.
The sword comes through the torso and then goes up rather than the chainsaw coming down from above. But that's kind of what it looks like. It just slices the fucker right in half. Yeah.
Look, spoiler alert after the fact for the Evil Dead remake. But like, if you're listening to this show, you've seen that movie. You
better have seen it.
If you're gonna have watched that movie, you will have watched it by now. So,
yeah, I mean, plus this is like the 5th time we've talked about it or something.
Yes, yeah.
And like if us talking about it, correct. If us having talked about it before was not enough to have gotten you to see it, well, that's on you now, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's good, and is it Fede Alvarez, right?
It is, yes.
And they're directing the new Alien movie, so get on it.
Sure is.
Right. Get on it, people. Anyway, the slaughter continues, right?
Yep.
Astrid's in the background shooting some arrows. Again, this is a D&D adventuring party. Eli's got his giant axe and a gun. He has this is a gun I think I recognize from Fireteam, but I don't know which one. I believe it's the laser gun that I used like twice and hated. Anyway,
Well, yeah, he pulls it out on crazy bug lady going 5-field mode that I still don't remember what her
yes.
name is. Shoots her in the head but doesn't kill her. They get into a fight, and then
Oh yeah, it's
I
not.
believe that's Astrid comes to his rescue.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, that's definitely. No, dude, that's your boy. That's our
Oh
blind. That's
shit, it is. You're right. Shit. That's fucking
yeah.
Seth, baby.
Let's
Hell yeah.
let's be clear. It's a relatively small panel, so I had to
Yeah, you kind of
zoom
can't really
in.
see it, like, because the way his haircut is,
Yeah,
from how small he is in the panel, it looks like just the top of Astrid's long hair poofing out.
yeah, but you can
But yeah,
see
shit.
the black where his eyes were, and like the white weeping down from them.
And
That's
I should have known when Eli's like, "Thanks, brother." He
yes,
wouldn't call Astrid brother, he'd call
right.
her sister.
So
So,
so
but
my
so
prediction
Seth,
was wrong. He returned now.
well, he did show up though, which is what we had
Right.
guessed would happen.
But I was
So,
thinking
well, he showed up in this issue, I should say.
But I was thinking end of the issue twist. He'd
Fair
swoop in and
enough.
save them at the end versus now. Now he can very clearly see without his eyes, and that's a really fascinating idea.
Um, I,
Like
I should point out to listeners that the reason we know that is because despite him not having any eyes, he put 4 rounds in 5-field 2 over here.
sure,
And like he fired, well, technically he fired 3 times and she was hit 4 times. But I mean, that's just sound effects. So who's counting?
yeah, maybe it's a weird exit wound. I don't know, but yeah, no, he can clearly see. He could. I mean, he made his way back to this place. He could
Yep.
he could aim and fire. He knew Eli was there. Like they must have other ways of seeing without their eyes. This implies that like if you remove an android's head, the body could like kind of walk around, like and find the head, right?
They should do that in one of the movies.
They did that in Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles. It's pretty cool, honestly.
All right. Well, Seth shows up
Yeah.
and saves Eli, and then Astrid yells, "I have the beacon." Do
Right.
you remember why they need the beacon?
I do. The beacon is that's the distress, like, or that's like we sound the beacon when we're ready, like to
Okay.
come back, and like the rescue team will come, or we'll be able to board or something like that. Because they had a shuttle, but like the shuttle, I think is just like they had to let the mothership, for lack of a better word, the military ship know that the mission was done, so they could be rescued.
Yeah, now that you say that, I seem to vaguely recall something along the lines of like how they weren't allowed to leave until they got the thing and activated the beacon or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, we see Freya, who, as we mentioned earlier, rescued the little kid inside the locker, and there's some more shooting as the 5 of them now escape.
Yes. And Astrid's like trying to like she's saying any survivors are already out. Seth is still like trying to gun people down, and Eli's like, "Come on, let's get the fuck out of here." Eli, who does not like the humans and doesn't want to save any of them, of course.
That's right.
So Eli's
And then
like,
suddenly, oh, go ahead.
or Seth is like, "I'm right behind you." When
And then he gets attacked by crazy bug lady, and part of his neck gets ripped out.
gets fucking his neck like bitten off,
Yeah.
and my
Well,
Comixology
partially.
app freaks out. Okay,
The head is still attached. It's only
right.
like a chunk out of the side of the
It's
neck.
like a big chunk, and it looks like
But
there's like these weird marbles coming out of his, like
and
those
then,
weird
well, I mean, that's
synthetic
just,
guts.
yeah, I would say, as we saw in the first movie,
Yeah,
like that's just kind of the internal organs for an android.
more
Unfortunately,
consistency.
though, one of the disemboweled humans is still alive enough to activate what looks like a nuke.
Yeah, and he's coughing like much like I am. I keep hitting the mute button, and he says, "You goddamn milkmen killed us all." Jesus.
And then he activates a timer that says 10 on it, and we don't know if it's supposed to be 10 seconds or 10 minutes, but it
Right.
has a little radioactive sign on it, and so I'm like, this motherfucker just turned on a nuke.
We also it could also be 1 minute because we don't know
It
which
might
way
just be upside down.
yeah, we
That
don't
is
know which
correct.
way it's supposed to face.
That is correct. I mean, I assumed it was 10 though,
Right.
because in like a digital numerical system, the 1 is typically on the right of the 0. So,
Yeah,
or of the right of the space where it appears, rather, I should say.
yeah, you're
But I
100%
mean, you're
correct.
right. It could be it could be like 1 minute or 1 hour or something. That's correct. But anyway,
It would be funny
I suppose we'll.
if he's just like, this guy's just like, I said it for 10 seconds because we gotta kill them all, and then like a minute later he's like, what the fuck, and he dies, and then an hour later the thing goes on.
That's right.
You fucked up. You
And
fucked
so
up, man.
everyone manages to escape, and Seth seems to be communicating with them telepathically, maybe, and talking about how Nora's here, which probably is not a very good thing. And then the entire place goes up in a huge fucking nuclear explosion.
Yeah. Let me get caught up. I somehow lost the page. Here we go. Yeah, man, that's heartbreaking. So Seth is, yeah, trapped in the nuclear explosion. Now, let's be clear. We didn't actually see him die, so my prediction could be right still. After all, he might resurface at the end of the issue or in issue 6. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we didn't actually see him. That is correct.
Also, Newt's tale could still be canon. These are the hills I'll die on.
They run away, and we see Crazy Bug Lady is still alive.
Yeah, and she's even
and
more
she's
mutated
crawling.
and gross looking.
She sure is, and she's crawling around through the wreckage. And
Down into the sewers.
the fuck? What the fuck is that? What am I looking at
Holy
right now?
shit. So she has climbed back down into the sewers, into that where they dropped that portcullis. Right?
Into the spot where they fought the queen. And then the queen comes back to life, but it's a robot?
Is it a robot?
That's what it looks like to me.
I think that's just some weird detailing on the drawing. I guess we'll find out. But what I'm noticing is that the queen's head is like 3 times taller than this mutated lady is.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
let's put her at what? 5, 6, maybe 6 feet. Let's put her at 6 feet.
Yeah, let's be generous and say 6 feet.
This thing is 18 feet.
Something like that, roughly, yeah.
From like up the back, the swooping like thing.
The crown, the crest, if you
guys,
will.
I can't stress enough that I've been sick. I'm not firing on all gears still. So, yeah, this is a gigantic queen, which is something you commented on in the last issue or the issue before when they teased the queen. This really puts in perspective how large she is. Now, I see what you're saying about it looking kind of robot-like, but I do think that might be artistic interpretation.
Yeah, because it has like, it's not quite scaling, but it's like ribbing around like the neck collar area.
Yeah,
and it's just like how she's like bathed in a blue light despite everything else
she
being
looks kind
green,
of shiny. I mean, they make
and
really interesting color choices with this book in general.
They do, yes.
But this does look a little different than the normal choices they make. So there could be something going on here. But remember, this is a variant of the species, right? This is the modified. This is the queen that came from the modified ovomorph, right?
And I will say, not really in my defense, but simply as like an explanation of me going, is this queen partially robot or something? Yeah. When I saw this queen pop up, I remembered right before the nuclear explosion when Seth was like, don't worry, Nora's here. Yeah. And so when I saw this queen, the first thing my brain thought was, did Nora and the queen like fuse together somehow?
That'd be crazy. I mean, yeah, who knows where they're going with this?
Yeah, we'll fucking find out. So yeah,
that's why we're reading the book.
Yeah, this mutated lady basically walks up to the queen, who like comes back to life, And
Yeah.
then we cut back to the remains of the Steel team.
She went like it's so weird that she like went to get the queen. Like I'm telling
Yeah.
mom, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, well maybe
And
that's it. So hold on, maybe it's less android. Maybe it's pathogen influence.
maybe could
Maybe, or
be.
maybe there is android by way of pathogen contamination and contacting. We'll see. We're reading the book. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, they're wandering through some bombed out building and they stop briefly so Freya can take care of the little kid, and then her and Eli get into a big argument,
Yes.
and Astrid reveals that despite being there when the nuclear explosion went off, he apparently doesn't have radiation sickness.
Yeah.
Which is good, because something that prevents radiation sickness is the whole reason they came to this damn planet to begin with.
I just want to focus a little on Eli's shitty coldness because he's like, "What are you doing?" And Freya's like, "I'm cleaning grit and blood out of the kid's hair." Right? And he's like, "Well, kid's gonna die from radiation poisoning anyway."
So who fucking cares? Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about him like right in front of him, like.
Yeah.
Well,
as
this
Eli
child
points out,
is deaf, I guess.
yeah, as Eli even points out, who cares what I say about him? He can't hear me. He's deaf. And Freya's like, well, I'm fucking not. Shut up.
Yeah. Also, real quick, it looks to me like Eli is using the Type 95 combat pistol, which is part of my technician loadout in Fireteam Elite.
Love it. Phenomenal stuff.
And yes, I did turn my Xbox on to confirm which gun it was. So I'm shutting it off now, and we'll get back to serious podcasting.
Well, like I said, Astrid scanned him and said the kid doesn't have any radiation poisoning. Yeah. And then Freya suggests exactly what it was that I thought of. Oh, we don't need an egg. This kid is what we can use.
I believe we were predicting this back in like issue 2 or 3, like that the survivors have the biologic, right? So like they get one of these.
We did, yeah.
Yes.
And so, therefore, they activate the beacon, which is cool.
Yeah. Melody lied to us. The scouts did take the biologic probably years ago. We don't need an alien egg. The kid's the key. I think we called that back when we saw the kid on the cover of issue 2 or 3 or whichever one it was. I think it was issue 3.
Kid... before this issue, the kid has been in like 2 or 3 panels of the comic.
Yeah.
So the fact that they went out of their way to have the character appear on the cover indicated that they were going to become important at some point or another. So yes.
Totally. So now they're just camping out.
Yeah,
waiting.
there's a time cut to later that night. And then they start discussing what they're going to do once they're off planet and back home.
Oh, I love this. Freya says she's going to finish Nora and Seth's boat. It won't be as good, but I want it finished. I love that they were just like, I was thinking back, we are so far removed from like their like idyllic hideout planet with like the giant leaves you can lounge on and read. And Nora and Seth were like,
I believe it was called Europa 5, I think was the name of the planet. Yeah.
And Nora and Seth were building a boat. And I love that like they could hide out there because they're synthetics and don't have to breathe, but the atmosphere isn't right for humans. All those details are so fucking cool. And we're just so far away from that. But I'm like remembering like the beginning of the story, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eli, meanwhile, he doesn't imply, he straight up says that he is going to threaten the general to make sure that he follows through.
Yeah, and gives them citizenship or amnesty or clemency or whatever, right?
And then Astrid says that her plan is to, quote, paint every vista on Europa 5.
Hell yeah. Every single one. Can't believe we couldn't remember her name.
Fuck. And then as she's walking out to go on watch, a presumably the queen, comes out of nowhere and fucking
Jesus.
rips her in half,
Holy
and she is
shit,
dead.
Astrid.
I want to clarify, she's fucking dead as hell. She got ripped the fuck in
God,
half.
and
All
she's
right.
given this speech about, I thought I knew and appreciated how beautiful our home is, but now I think to really appreciate it, we had to come here. She steps in like some secreted goo. She hears the hiss, she turns, and just that second jaw
And
just eliminates her head. Like
yeah.
her head has been deleted.
Yeah, it's like,
Holy
yeah,
fuck.
the pharyngeal jaw, like how normally they like push it through someone's forehead, but this queen is so fucking big that the pharyngeal jaw is like the size of Astrid's entire face. And so it's like when you have like a hole puncher on a piece of paper, it just boom, the
God
entire middle of
damn.
it is just fucking
It's
gone.
fucking
And then the queen
brutal.
picks up Astrid's body and rips it literally to shreds.
The disrespect of us not remembering her name through the last issue. When she was like the rational, she was like the heart of the group. She kept everyone on track.
And
And
then
now,
the queen gets real
Jesus.
pissed, and like the entire army of Xenomorph shows up,
They open
and
fire.
they all start firing, and
Oh fuck.
Freya's like, Eli, come on. And then Eli pulls out his big fucking axe and he's like, no, you go.
Try to save your goddamn humans. I got this big old axe. Holy shit. This is what
Hell yeah.
that's why you brought us here. He's gonna have a fucking face off with the big ass queen.
Yep, he's standing guard with the big fucking axe as the queen descends on him.
Holy
And
shit.
Freya and the kid
They're
run up,
scrambling. They're scrambling up this abandoned building. I don't know, just trying to get away.
and then
They look down in
they
the
look, yeah,
courtyard.
they look over into the courtyard in the middle, and it's just dozens and dozens of ovomorphs
Count,
just
yeah.
all over the fucking place.
Count. It looks like they're even like up in the trees and stuff. Like they're just like this web of ovomorphs. This is kind of crazy. I don't know if that's what we're really seeing up there, but that's what it looks like because it's all kind
I
of
mean,
silhouetted.
yeah, since the shape is the same, I assume it's supposed to invoke that, so I'm just
Yeah.
going to assume that's what they are.
Then she
And
gives
then
the fucking child the gun. She's like,
yep, Freya gives the kid a pistol.
sorry to cut
And
you off.
then
The Type
yeah, it's
95
fine.
combat pistol. But
Uh
P.S. I have my Type 95 is the same white and blue color scheme in the game. This is kind of nuts.
um and then when Freya makes the mistake of saying we're going to make it, she gets interrupted by Eli, who throws the kid
Jesus
off of the
Christ.
balcony and then pulls out a big knife and starts trying to beat the shit out of Freya.
Yeah, and he looks kind of fucked up.
He does.
And he's like,
He's looking,
I won't let you
he has
save.
he has a couple of big groove marks in the side of his head. He has what are obviously puncture wounds all through the
Yeah,
upper chest. Yeah.
I won't let you save a single one. Damn, and it
Um
is a nest. It is like a web of
yep,
ovomorphs up in the trees.
because the kid gets caught in some of the webbing and happens to land right next to a couple of ovomorphs, one of which is opening up in front of
They
him.
did this to us, Freya. They killed our family, and you let them. But that doesn't matter now. All that matters is that we stay together. Holy shit, he's snapped. Like, I don't
Yep.
fully understand. We're watching this kid fall, the ovomorph opens, he falls from the nest, hits the ground, he's surrounded by them.
And then he looks up, and as the facehuggers are coming out of the ovomorphs, the queen herself is standing there
Holy
screeching into
shit.
the kid's face.
Yeah,
Oh,
smiling at it.
and listeners, that's how the comic ends.
Eli's saying, what matters is that we stay together. You and me, Astrid, Nora, and Seth, a family. I don't understand the change, right? Like, because he told them to run and escape, and he's going to face off with the queen, and then he takes all this damage from the battle, and his eyes are like blacked out now, aren't they? His eyes are blacked out. He's got pathogen in him. This is my prediction. Look at the first panel when he shows
Shows
back up.
back up.
Look at his eyes, and
Yeah.
you can see his eyes versus Freya's and the child's, right?
Yeah.
So this is
Sure is.
so this is the this is all right.
Yeah.
It's
I
something pathogen related. So there is something off about this queen for sure. Also, this last page, you can see a gash in the queen's head from presumably the
Yeah.
axe. That's pretty sick. Also,
And the little chyron at the bottom says "Next Better Worlds," so that's cool.
I have no idea where this is
Um,
going, but we should talk about this right now. The variant cover.
Mhm.
Not the variant cover. The cover for issue 6
Yep.
is bringing back a certain character from the first Marvel Alien run, the first Philip K. Johnson storyline, which we have not
Which
talked
we
about
have
on the
not covered. Yeah, we
podcast.
haven't covered on the show. It is colloquially known as Bloodlines, and it
Yes.
is the first arc that they did after Marvel got the license. So, how should I phrase this? If anyone out there wanted their xenomorphs to be sexier and
Mhm.
hotter, here's your opportunity.
Yeah, I don't remember the context of this except it didn't seem like it was a real creature to me in Bloodlines, but
Yeah,
it might have been the alpha. Was it the it's
well, it wasn't the alpha. The alpha was the big main one that he
right.
fights at the end of the comic. Since we haven't talked about this comic before,
Spoilers.
I'll give you the absolute barest, briefest context for the character appearing on this cover. The main character of that comic, got a chest burster surgically removed moments before it killed him, and then he just like went back into regular active service. But like ever since that happened, he's had like hallucinations or visions or dreams or whatever you want to call them
Yes.
about like this entity from the dark like calling out to him. And so
Yes.
occasionally interspersed maybe once or twice per issue, if that, probably even less often than that, we would see panels here and there depicting this entity calling out to him from the deep. And that entity was, imagine a sexy babe but with the skin styling of a xenomorph, and then it
Right.
has big curved ram horns.
It's the HR Giger corn microphone come to life.
That is correct. And the reason this is significant is because this character is, or a character similar to it, it might not necessarily be exactly literally that same character, but that sexy xenomorph lady
Uh-huh.
is on the cover of
Yes.
Icarus issue 6.
So, two things. First, your mileage may vary when it comes to how sexy or not sexy this xenomorph character is.
That is correct.
This
I'm
is
not saying,
this
yeah, I'm
is
not describing it as sexy because
you
I'm attracted to it. It's because it has the design of a sexy lady.
right, but yeah, but no judgment here. This is a
Yeah.
judgment-free podcast. As long as everything is consensual, um, and legal. But I'm on the Xenopedia article for Bloodlines.
All right.
And where was it? I scrolled and I lost it. They discussed this because there was a part of that storyline where they were talking about how like Wayland Yutani or whoever finally found like the pathogen, right? They called it Prometheus's cleansing fire, right?
Yeah.
And there's this concept that people have talked about how like the pathogen may have been something that the engineers use, to kind of reset things if things got out of control. I'm just going to read straight from this paragraph. Where is it? Hold on. Sorry. The female figure he keeps seeing in his dreams, that she is the, quote, inevitable end result of what happens when humans attempt to tame the xenomorph species. So like the implication here from
I
that,
should say
Yes.
I should say, listeners, real quick, nothing presented in the actual comic implies that's what that character is meant to indicate. I just want to say there's nothing actually in the comic indicating that. So anyway, go on.
But it's all we've got to go on, because it's the only
I'm
context
just
in which this character has shown up.
I'm just wondering where they got that information, because that information certainly is not presented in the comic itself.
Well, I think that it is. I don't remember the character. This is a tough conversation to have. We're going to dive into this more in the next episode. I want to take some time to kind of reread the arc, because it's very clear that this character is going to show up again, and I want to be
sure.
and I want to be able to give context for the listeners who haven't checked out that story. But it does seem to me like the implication of the existence of that creature is like, well, no, if we keep doing experiments with pathogen and xenomorphs and humans, eventually something like this is going to get birthed from it, right?
Yeah.
Something that is much closer to human, but is still xenomorph. And given that this whole story is about an ovomorph that has been biologically affected to, and then like with the intent to then use it to create a medicine that can keep humans healthy, like it's very clear that they're getting into this. Like Philip K. Johnson is into this idea of xenomorph experiments going too far, and pardon me, instead of just trying to use them as weapons, trying to use them as medicine, and how that's going to like go bad also, right?
I got you. Sure. Yep, I hear you.
So I think that this character is gonna we're gonna get an answer for what this character is, basically.
Probably.
Like, or maybe this is just a reference to where his sort of writing of the Alien books started, since this is kind of this issue 6 is like the bookend for his 18-issue run on Marvel's Alien series, right? I'm
assuming when he was writing this issue, he knew he wasn't going to be writing the next one. So, there's no way for me to know that for sure, but I assume he probably did know that, because if he was going to be writing the next one, he probably would have needed to, start working on the next script by then. So
yeah, but I think so too. But I do hope we get some kind of an answer for what it is. I
would like to know who that character is. Like, she appeared in that first arc with zero explanation, and so I was like, what the heck is this? But though I should go ahead.
I'm also worried. Like, I don't want it to end up being like this was the actual Queen of the Hive or something, right? Because this cover definitely shows them. It shows
that's actually what I was about to go into.
Yeah.
Basically, listeners, the cover of the next issue isn't just this, caller from the deep or whatever her name is. She's standing in the center.
Kerrigan, the Zerg Queen. Go on.
Correct. Yes. She's standing in the center, and there's a whole horde of xenomorphs all around her, and they're all running somewhere, like towards the camera. And then at the bottom of the frame, underneath like some tubing or a grate or something like that, we see Eli and Freya and the child like peeking out from underneath it, watching them run by overhead.
Yeah.
So because of the way this is structured, it implies that whoever this lady xenomorph is, she's some kind of like controller or leader of them, because, she's going by through the group while they're all running somewhere,
Yes. There's another thing that it could be that we're overlooking.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lady running around here who's pathogen mutated, who went and found the queen, and we haven't seen the queen we haven't seen the pathogen lady since then.
We sure haven't.
Do you think that this could just be more of her mutation? That would be kind of fascinating, right? Because
that never That never would have occurred to me had you not said it, but now that you did say it, I'm looking at it going, that is obviously what's going on here.
That must be right, but it still ties into those early arcs, right? Like it must still, like,
It does look similar.
well, because he was having the guy in Bloodlines was having like visions of this thing, right? Like you said, it was never
Yeah.
something concrete. It was like professorial visions. It was Duncan Fields level, right? Hallucinations.
Correct, yes.
Another weird deep cut reference that we just have access to now.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
So maybe I mean, I think it's probably supposed to be the same creature, but I think that what we're seeing here is the genesis of that thing becoming a reality with all of these experimentations and mixing human DNA and pathogen and xenomorph DNA and everything else.
It's funny that you say that because I had a similar thought of like, what if he was having visions of this creature here, and this creature is like the story of where that creature in his visions came from.
Yeah.
So I went back and looked it up, and this comic takes place 17 years after the events of Bloodlines.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Because
there's
Bloodlines took place in the year 2200, and this comic takes place in 2217.
but there is a precedent for prophetic visions, right? Obviously,
That's true, there is.
Duncan Fields, right, in
Mhm.
Alien Covenant Origins, and we've read the issues, but the podcast episodes aren't out. The the religious cult in Aliens Outbreak, right?
Yep.
Like there's precedent for this in the Alien universe. So yeah, I think that he was having prophetic visions of this event. It's almost a shame, not really, that this storyline, it didn't turn out this storyline happened first and he was like on the rescue team. Right?
Yeah. Oh, that would have been nice.
That would have been fun, but it must be. So this has got to be Pathogen Lady, but it's also the creature that he was having visions of. Like this is Philip K. Johnson tying his Alien run up in a nice little bow here, and
all right.
I'm into it. I dig it. This
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
This pathogen, well, who we're assuming is probably the Pathogen Lady depicted on the cover of issue 6. How similar in like actual detail does it look to the character depicted in Bloodlines? I know they look superficially similar, but is there like distinguishing features that would indicate they're different creatures, or do they literally look the same?
I'm gonna check it out right now. Give me a second.
I do not have my copy of Bloodlines in front of me, so it would be quicker for you to look it up than for me to find my copy of the comic.
So I'm scrolling through Bloodlines now. I'm seeing a lot of alpha. There we go. Okay. All right. Extremely similar. Okay. I'm gonna send you. It's the same. Like there's the details on the head are a bit different, but it is the same.
And the differences in those details might just be, because it's a different artist. So.
Yeah, and I mean you've seen like these Bjorn Beren's covers are extremely detailed, and the depictions of the characters don't always match up. They don't look exactly the same as they do in the interior art either. So, but I just sent you a screenshot on Discord. This is, I mean, what are the odds that there's two of these, right?
Like, it's pretty fucking similar. The like the head crest thing is different.
Crest is the word I couldn't think of earlier, talking about the giant queen head. Damn it.
But the horns are curved in exactly the same way.
Yeah. I mean,
the body has like ridges in the same spots. It's probably the same. It's probably the same character.
I think it's the same. I think it's supposed to be the same character in any case. Like
I'm thinking so too.
Maybe like where they're going with this mythology is that there's going to just be like dozens of these. If you get pathogen infected and then come in contact with a pathogen infected, Xenomorph, you might mutate into this thing. Like maybe that's just a part of the life cycle now.
Also, I should say, or rather not say, but apologize to any listeners out there that have not read Bloodlines yet. We'll get to it sooner rather than later. Don't worry.
We will. But as we've also said, I wasn't super crazy about that arc, and neither were you.
Yeah, it is not the best Alien comic I've ever read. I'll definitely put it that way.
The second arc, Sanctuary, I thought was quite a bit better, and this one is still, after 5 issues, knocking it out of the fucking park. This book is still great. I'm calling the shot. They're gonna stick the landing with this. Okay, I think talking through, I think the big fear I had going into this was seeing the Xeno lady on the cover of issue 6 and thinking like, oh shit, it's gonna tie back into this weird vision thing, right? But
Yep.
talking it out here, I'm fairly certain that this is the pathogen lady.
Yeah, because as pointed out, I believe in the beginning of the episode, issue 6 is already out, so we already knew like what the cover of issue 6 was going to be.
Yes.
Going into this comic. So like we started reading this comic knowing that the lady was going to be on issue 6, and so we were all like, oh man, how is that gonna work? How are we gonna get there from where we are now, you know?
Yeah, and it turns out it's a pretty straight line from pathogen infected lady to this. I'm gonna grab pathogen infected lady's name real quick.
Okay.
So that we don't have another Freya situation on our hands here. Talking to her, not Jesus. Lee. Her name is Lee.
Lee. Got it.
Pathogen lady is named Lee. Yeah. Oh God, there's Seth pulling his eyes out. Holy shit. Issue 4 was good.
Such a cool fucking panel. I love it so much.
Issue 4 was real good. Issue 5 was also real good, but man, a lot.
And fucking as it turns out, the fact that he ripped his eyes out didn't even matter to the comic.
Didn't even really matter because they got sonar or something.
I thought maybe that was gonna be narratively important, the fact that he like doesn't have eyes, but like no, not only could he still see, but he almost immediately like I guess got nuked.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It would have been fascinating to see like if he had like a red eye behind his organic eye, like a Terminator, but that's it's not the case with these. I've had Terminators on the brain lately.
I can tell. This is the second time in this episode you've mentioned it.
Yeah. Well, Kenny, let's wrap this one up because I'm going to propose to you that we take a short break here and immediately record our episode on issue 6. What do you say?
I might be able to pull that off. Yeah.
We'll talk about it off. That's an off-air conversation. Probably shouldn't have done that on recording. In any case,
we can cut it out. It's fine.
We have to come up with issue accurate designations now.
I've got one.
Okay, I do too.
All right.
Thank you everyone for listening to Crew Expendable. Wait, we got to do plugs. Let's do plugs. Kenny, where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Twitter, I am on Letterboxd, and I am on Goodreads, and I'm also on a bunch of other social media sites because I use the same handle for everything at CYHOBBEZ.
Spell that one more time. It cut out twice.
At CYHOBBEZ.
And I am on Twitter and Xbox at Final Neal with an A. And Instagram at Final Neal Retro. And I do another podcast about Mortal Kombat stuff called MK Podquest, which you can find at mkpodquest.com. Kenny, where can people find this show on the internet?
Our website is crewexpendable.net. Our Instagram page is at crewexpendablepod, and our Twitter account is at crewexpendapod.
And thanks for listening to Crew Expendable. I'm going to let you go first with the designation.
I've been Replacement Shipwright Rohrbacher.
And I've been Vicious Knife Fighter Hallstrom. We'll be back to talk about the final issue of Alien Icarus very, very soon. So until then, stay frosty.